Hi there. My name is Sean Bailey. I live in Sudbury, Ontario. For those of you who don't know where that is, that's in Canada. I'm 30 years old and I have fibular hemimelia. In my specific case, my fibular hemimelia affects my left leg. I have a 6.5 inch leg length difference, and when I was born it was much less, but it did grow in larger margins as I got older. When I was born, 9 out of 10 of the specialists that looked at me when I was born, because nobody really knew how to handle my situation when I was born, 9 out of 10 of the specialists actually voted for amputation. But there was one specialist, Dr. Salter, who I owe everything to, who unfortunately has passed. He passed away a few years ago, and it was, this world suffered a great loss by losing him. There's even surgeries over at Sick Kids that actually worldwide that people perform that are called the Salter surgery, affecting people's legs and ankles and things like that. As far as I understand, anyway, I may have that wrong, but fantastic man, and I owe everything to him. Because he was the leading specialist that looked at me and fought all 9 other specialists, saying, "No, you know what? Let's leave this kid. Let's just see what happens." Essentially, so I had to go to Sick Kids Hospital in Toronto. At first, I believe it was every month, and then every 3 months, and then every 6 months, then every year, and then I eventually tapered off. I didn't really have to go too much more as time went on, and every time I went to see Dr. Salter, he would always have me roll up my pant leg with my external extension prosthesis, which, as you can see, this is my brace. This is what I wear day in, day out. It does fit into a shoe very comfortably. I don't have to get a different size or anything specially made, which is fantastic. But I'll tell you more about my prosthesis in a minute. I just want to finish telling you about kind of my origin story in regards to Dr. Salter. But once I had my prosthesis and I went to go see him, he would always measure my hips to make sure everything's level and make sure everything's on an even keel, so that I'm not hurting myself when I'm walking, I'm not doing damage to my back and my hips and that kind of thing. But just to kind of rub it in the face of the other specialists, he would always have me roll up my pant leg and walk in front of their offices back and forth for a good 5 minutes. The man was not without a sense of humor, and yeah, I have a lot of respect for him and a lot of love for him, and this world is going to miss him greatly. When I was, I'm going to say 16, they offered me what was called a Lizaroth surgery at the time. I believe that name has changed to what is commonly called the Fixator or something like that now. I'm not really familiar, as I personally, in my journey, I haven't had any of the surgeries. I have not, to this day, had a single surgery on my leg, which, I mean, that's not the path for everyone, and I totally understand that. But my path, I think, is a little bit different from most people, and that's all I'm doing today, is telling you my story. But, so I can't remember where I left off on that, but I was fit with my prosthesis. Oh yeah, I was talking about when I was 16. What about when I was 16, though?
Surgery.
That was right. Offered. Yes, so thank you. That voice you heard was my lovely girlfriend, Katrina. Thank you for keeping me on track. So yes, when I was 16, I was offered a surgery to lengthen my leg. And I asked them at the time, I said, will I be able to have the same quality of life that I have now? At the time, I was playing hockey, very active. I played baseball, basketball, pretty much any sport I could play, I did. And I did pretty well at. But they offered me the surgery, and I asked if I would have the same quality of life that I have now, and they said, we can't guarantee that. So I opted not to have that surgery. I started to walk once I got my first prosthesis when I was 3 years old, which I know is pretty late, but considering all things, it's not so bad. And then pretty much as soon as I started walking, I started playing hockey. I started skating. I mean, being in Canada, hockey's kind of a big deal around here. And my my older brother played it, my middle brother played it, and my father grew up playing it, and it's one of those things that, growing up in Northern Ontario, it's just one of those things that you do. So I began to really, really enjoy it, and I played for many, many years. I think I played for 16 or so years. I was a goaltender. I did fairly well. And I played for a number of years, and you'll have to excuse the awkward phase that I went to. And of course, everybody when they're in their early teens has to have that disgusting mustache. It's a rite of passage, I guess. But anyways, I digress. So to speak to you a little bit about that. In my journey, as far as being active and things like that, I was always encouraged by my family to be as active as possible and not to let my leg being a stumbling block, or an excuse, rather. Of course, my mother, being a mother, was always a little more concerned and was afraid that I would hurt myself permanently or do some permanent damage. But my father, being the man that he is, said, you know what, no. If he uses this as an excuse now, he's always going to use it as an excuse, and he was absolutely right. He didn't let it stop me. I don't let it stop me, and a lot of people are surprised when they find out that I do have a brace on at all times, and I'm okay with that. I really am. So I played hockey for a lot of years. I even did high jump in high school, elementary and high school. And I did that without the brace, actually. So I would kind of hobble up to bar and jump. And in grade 8, I came in 5th in all of my regions, so that was pretty cool. I did get bullied a lot in elementary and high school. A lot. It kind of died down in high school. But that's because I learned that the best weapon that you can have against a bully is a sense of humor. If you can learn to laugh things off, if you can learn not to let it bother you, and if you can learn to make the jokes about yourself first, develop that sense of humor, they have nothing to say. So if they know it doesn't bother you, then they're not going to say anything because they have nothing to say. So really, at the end of the day, how you handle a situation really directs how that situation is going to progress. If you let it bother you, it's going to become a big deal. If you don't, it dies. So that's honestly my biggest piece of advice, is to develop a sense of humor about it. I stopped being bullied, I'm going to say, in about grade 10. That's when I started, making my own jokes about things, and if people would bug me, I'd say, shut up, I'll throw my leg at you. Just weird stuff, but it completely disarms people. Like, who's going to keep bugging somebody after they get threatened to have a leg thrown at them, honestly? Think about that for a second. But, I got called everything. I got called peg leg, I got called gimp. If I'm running wearing shorts, run, Forrest, run, all that kind of stuff. But then the nicknames started to change. I started my own nickname, One-Legged Wonder, stuff like that. And people started to realize, okay, it's not such a big deal, because it's not such a big deal to me. I don't consider myself as having a handicap. It's not something that I would do. I'm not going to get a handicap parking sticker. I'm not going to do any of that kind of thing, because that's not the way I see it. I just see it as me living my life, being who I am, and that's about it. I know there's some parents out there that whose child who's just been born, or is just a few years old, or even somebody who's 20 years old. You're always going to be worried about that child. You're always going to wonder if you made the right decisions and things like that. Never regret the decisions you've made, because it's the decisions that you've made that form and forge the life that is currently lived. Never regret that. Be happy about that, because every decision you make in life forges who you are and makes you a stronger and more prepared person for life, the life that you're meant to live. That's what I honestly believe. So, there's a lot of people out there. I've discovered that there's a lot of people out there just like me who have fibular hemimelia. I didn't even know it was called fibular hemimelia until about 3 or 4 years ago. when a doctor told me, because when I was born, I don't know if there was a name for it. Maybe there was. I just didn't know what that name was, and it was never shared with me until just a few years ago. So now I've found this community of people on Facebook that all share similar stories to me, kids who are being born with this, and I guess that's really who this video is for. I know there's a lot of people who are growing up with fibular hemimelia, or know somebody who is, or have a kid who has it, who are affected by this, and I guess I'm just here to tell you, don't worry, everything's gonna be fine. There are many different ways to handle the situation. There's the surgery, there's amputation, or I don't know, my route, don't do anything and just kind of see how it goes. I personally, the only pain that I really have, in all honesty, is I have a bad back. That's from years of sports with my prosthesis. It's from me being an idiot and lifting improperly. It's from a lot of different reasons. But one of the main contributing factors is the fact that I do have a difference in the height in my legs. So when I do walk, I mean, the more active I am, the more strain it puts on my lower back and my hips and everything. But I mean, I'm turning 30 in a week, and I have a happy life. I do. I haven't really been held back from anything. It hasn't really stopped me from doing anything. I'm happy, you know. And I know there are some cases out there. There's probably a lot of cases out there of fibular hemimelia who are worse off than I am. And by no means am I saying going the route of the surgeries is the wrong decision. I mean, there's a lot of times in my life I wonder what it would be like to have two legs the same size. There is no right and wrong decision with fibular hemimelia. There's only living. And that's what it comes down to. Whatever ailment you have, whatever disability or not disability, or whatever it is that you're dealing with, whether it's a physical, mental, emotional, whatever kind of issue that you're dealing with, it always gets better. Things always get better. And at the end of the day, you lived another day. That's a blessing in itself. So never give up. And, you know, I know a lot of this, I've just been rambling. It's really hard to sit here and tell a story and try to get in all the points that you want to get in. But that's me in a nutshell. That's my life. I'll tell you, before I end this video, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about my prosthesis itself. I kind of love this one. It's got some attachments to it that I really dig. Again, being a 30-year-old living in Canada, I mean, I kind of drink beer, so this plays into it. But, so this is my external extension prosthesis. As you can see, not a big deal. It does push out my shoe a little bit, so I mean, it doesn't look exactly the same, but it does the job, and it looks fine. A few years ago, I was finally able to wear sandals for the first time, so that was super exciting. But so it does have a fake foot on the bottom. My toes sit here. My heel is actually here. So this difference here, that's my actual leg length difference. So my foot is constantly held in, if you want to call it a high heel position, if you want to call it a tiptoe position, whatever, that's fine. 3 basic straps keep me in. This is my prosthesis here. I have a beer bottle opener attached inside of it, just because, you know, I'm cool like that. I've always had designs on the back. I'm a big fan of the Boondock Saints. So this is a t-shirt that I purchased that I had them laminate onto it. I'm kind of really digging this one. I used to be a Toronto Maple Leafs fan when I was like 8, up until I was about 8 and 9, and then I discovered that the Toronto Maple Leafs suck. And I would never be a fan of them again. That was right around the time Felix Potvin left, but again, I digress. So yeah, this is my prosthesis here. It's kind of cool. It's got good balance to it, good weight. It's kind of heavy at times. And then this is my leg itself. Excuse the matted fur. I've been wearing it all day. But so yeah, I do have two toes that are completely fused together. I'm missing a toe. I don't know if it's this one or this one or this one. All I know is it's gone. It was never there, and I don't miss it because it was never there. And yeah, so I can't flex my foot all the way flat, which honestly I'm okay with because I don't really need to flex it flat. And when I stand, this is kind of me standing straight up, and when I walk without it, I'm going to kind of do a small walk. Please excuse my house, but this is how I walk when I'm getting ready for bed or anything like that, which it's really not that bad. I still have good mobility in my legs and my body, even though I haven't had any lengthening or anything like that. And yeah, that's me in a nutshell. So thank you very much for watching. I know it's a really long video, and I'm really sorry for that, but thank you so much for listening. And if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to message me. I'd be more than happy to answer them for you. Thanks. Bye.